Guys, what's going on? It's Ash here coming at you today in Raid Shadow Legends. This is a very important video, guys. It is all about Dark Elhain. She is a free daily login reward champion. We did a guide on her months and months ago when she was added to the game. And let me tell you, with Doom Tower, she is probably one of, if not in the conversation for the most necessary epic champions in the game. She's really, really good. Today we're going to talk about why and maybe a couple different build ideas for you on Dark Elhain. She's so good. So I was always a fan of this champion, specifically as kind of a specialist on Ice Golem's peak, right? Because whenever she gets frozen, she gets rid of the freeze. Whenever an ally gets frozen, she instantly activates her very hard-hitting AoE attack. Kind of like Zargala, if she kills an enemy on her A2, she'll instantly activate her A3. It's very similar with Dark Elhain, except for it's predicated on your allies getting frozen. So that's really, really good. But there's more than just that. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at her kit, and then talk about the obvious reasons she is a beast inside Doom Tower. It's funny, I'm recording this video a couple days before it goes live, and I'm tempted to just double upload maybe, just because I think it's so important to note how good she is in Doom Tower and in Ice Golem. And basically it's because against Borgoth, the Scarab King, and against Sorath, the Frost Spider, she's insane. So the Scarab King, on her A1, she has decreased the target's max HP by 30% of the damage inflicted. And you guys already know with the Scarab King, you need to decrease his max HP. So if you don't have a bunch of destroy artifact sets, or you want a little bit of help, she has that built into her A1. Decrease target's max HP by 30% of the damage inflicted, and even better, it actually has some really solid multipliers on it, so it's inflicting a lot of damage. Really good ability against, obviously, Borgoth. And then we have Sorath, which I talked about the freeze, similar to the Ice Golem, right? So, fills this champion's turn meter by 25% on the first passive, and instantly activates Death Majesty's skill whenever this champion or an ally receives a freeze debuff. Death Majesty is place a 50% increase attack on this champion for 2 turns, then attacks all enemies. Also has a 75% chance when booked of placing a decreased speed debuff for 2 turns. Now it's up to you guys. Do you really want to land that decreased speed? Does it mean a lot to you in your team, given your own composition? I would say that the majority of you should probably build her with accuracy to land that decreased speed. It does land on the Ice Golem after all. However, me, in this build that we're going to be using today, I opted to have an attack banner, so she's dealing even more damage. That obviously helps you out more on the A1 too, dealing more damage and further decreasing the max HP of whoever you're attacking. So it's really up to you guys, and it's only one accessory slot that can make the difference of landing that decreased speed or not. So if you want to build her as a total all-out nuker, go ahead and build her in, you know, whatever, your best savage gear, cruel gear, attack gear, crit rate, crit damage, and put that attack banner on her. If you want to build her so that she can actually land the decreased speed, especially if you're going to use her in a variety of different areas in the game, I would advise you put the accuracy banner on her instead. So her second passive, Veins of Ice, instantly removes any freeze debuffs from on this champion, and replaces them with a 30% increased crit rate, increased crit damage, and a 15% strengthen buff whenever an enemy places a freeze debuff on this champion. So just further utility in value, a lot of it, whenever she is frozen. So, Masteries for this champion, I actually haven't changed them for this video. This was, again, big mistake here. Don't copy this. Don't copy this. I'm actually going to go ahead and redo them right now. I'll be right back. Guys, so this is a little bit more like it here, and this will, you know, these masteries, I went with War Master as my tier 6 mastery instead. You definitely don't want, I mean, Flawless Execution is solid for the 20% crit damage, but for me, I'm at the point where War Master is going to be better, or Giant Slayer is going to be better, or Helm Smasher is going to be better. Any 3 of those options is going to be better over a sustained fight. And even Helm Smasher, even like an Arena Nuker, I would probably go there. Flawless Execution I am only using now on my account on champions that do damage based on enemy max HP, because that 20% crit damage can make a huge impact. So Royal Guards and Armigers and Cold Hearts. And defensive tree, we went with a Retribution because the counterattack will further decrease enemy max HP, which is really nice to have. And we went with Cycle of Revenge as well, 50% chance of increasing the turn meter by 15% when an ally is attacked with a critical hit, which is nice to have. And yeah, so that's what I went with for Masteries. And I also have a Reflex set on her. So it's worth noting, guys, that Reflex received a huge buff. It's super solid to put on any champion that only has 2 skills, right? So that is the case, 2 active skills, I should say, with, you know, her A1, obviously, and Death Majesty, and that's it. So think about it. We're going to have a chance of doing Death Majesty whenever anybody gets frozen, and also a chance of putting it off cooldown just because of our Reflex set. Reflex set is arguably, a lot of people are saying, it's now probably better than Relentless gear, which is insane, but it depends on the champion, of course. So any champion that you have, I mean, everybody talks about Bad L as a great option for a Relentless set because he has 2 abilities as well. You know, some people even use a champion like Valkyrie in a Reflex set as well. So consider Reflex sets or consider farming Reflex sets, guys. It's way better than it used to be now. So it was already pretty solid, but now with the buff, it's definitely the biggest buff on any artifact set in the last, you know, month or whatever, the last few weeks in 3.0 when they buffed all those artifact sets. Anyway, I have her built out in a Reflex set. If you don't have Reflex, no worries either. Just go ahead and run her in attack stuff, you know, so Savage or crit damage or crit rate or attack, whatever you guys have, Cruel. So I went all out attack, and this is important on her, and I mentioned this before on the channel, but it bears repeating. I put my Dark Elhain always in attack percentage boots. And that's something that I don't do for, you know, barely any other champions, maybe in Arena Nuker, but I put her in attack percentage boots because, again, we're proccing this Death Majesty anyway. And in Ice Golem and against the Ice Spider, I mean, we're not going to have to worry about her speed that much, you know. Obviously, it helps for the waves, and having a higher speed is always a good thing, but you can build her with attack because anytime anybody's frozen, she's automatically going to go anyway. So that's why I really highly recommend you guys considering putting her in attack percentage on the boots instead of speed. Now, some of you might disagree with me. Some of you might say, who cares? I still want her to be fast. That's totally fine too. But I've had a lot of success running her with attack percentage on her boots. I think that's how you really tap into and unlock her full potential. So I also went attack percentage on the chest, and I went crit damage on the gauntlets. She's definitely a champion that you want to try to get into crit damage gauntlets if you can. And with all that attack, she's just going to be an absolute monster of a nuker. And as I told you guys, I went attack on her banner, and I looked for speed substats. Just because we don't have speed boots on her doesn't mean that we should be ignoring speed, right? So I basically went through my gear, my Reflex gear, and I found speed rolls. I got a double roll here. That's the most speed that I have. I have no speed on the helmet, and then on the shield, I do have a speed. I haven't used all my glyphs on this. I have speed on the gauntlets as well. So I took speed. I have speed where I could find it, okay? So her speed overall, she's not fast, but 163 isn't bad, considering we don't have that 45 speed or 40 speed, depending on 5 or 6 stars on the boots. But we have a 5,000 plus attack, which is great. Attack starts to really scale down a little bit, the impact it can have over 5k, so this is a perfect number to kind of settle on. And then we have 84 low, obviously we're looking for 100% on the crit rate, and then we have 250 crit damage. Again, I opted not to build her in accuracy, but that is up to you guys. We could easily sacrifice some attack and put that accuracy banner, that way she's consistently landing that decreased speed. So let's go ahead and try her out, guys, right? Now, unfortunately, actually, I'm going to run her in Doom Tower for you guys too, because I have some keys. We can go ahead and use her against the bosses. But first, I'm going to go ahead and show you her against Ice Golem. So Ice Golem 20. We're just going to put her on. I have kind of a random team here, huh? Well, I don't want to waste any time here. I'm going to assemble the team. We'll be right back. All right, guys. So here we go. It's weird, man. You saw the Masteries. This happened to me a few times recently. You look at a champion that you haven't built or haven't, you know, looked at their Masteries in a long time, and you're like, oh my god, what was I thinking putting those? Look at this. Boom. What was I thinking putting these Masteries on this champion? Like, Sometimes it doesn't make any sense. So that's her A1, 35k or so, not too bad. Wait till she gets to Ice Golem himself, though. She's gonna impress you guys. So this team is pretty solid team here. We have Miscreated Monster on the team just to kind of get through it a little bit faster, but we have Kale as lead. We have Seal the Drakes. We have Reliquary Tender, who I'm a big fan of, and Dragon, and an Ice Golem especially. And then here she goes in again with her A2, hitting for around 40k or so on that A2. Let's see if we can go, oh, they get the Shriek up, so the reflect damage, that's going to be a pain. But, you know, Miscreated's going to keep everybody alive. So yeah, once we get to the actual Ice Golem, dude, she's going to be, sometimes, she's just an absolute monster, you know? She's Death's Majestying all the time. And you got to be careful, too, because if you're doing too much damage, as you guys know, I probably should have put Royal Guard and compared her damage to Royal Guard here, but she can hang with Royal Guard. And there she goes. Death Majesty number 1. We'll see. Try to count how many Death Majesties for a slow champion she pulls off during this battle. And then after this, like I said, I'm going to run her against both of the highest hard difficulty. Death Majesty, that was a reflex proc right there, back to back. And the Ice Golem, finally he gets to go there. Not the freeze, though. That was the enemy max HP, 50k on one of the minions, not bad at all. Granted, she does have a lot of crit damage, so I'm not, there it goes again. Boom, Death Majesty with the War Master as well as she does. Just kind of note that. Death Majesty, we got frozen. She goes again. She goes with her A1, 54k. And Death Majesty again. I mean, she is, she's something else, right? That's her A1. I think she's, I've always been a big fan of her, right? Her and Death Majesty again. Her and Seal the Drakes are definitely my favorite log and reward champions. I've always been, like I said, I've mentioned her quite a bit here on the channel. In terms of a champion that I'm just a really big fan of. And now in Doom Tower, I think there's all the more reason to invest in this champion, to consider this champion, especially if you're struggling against those bosses, as so many of you guys are. I'm sure if you're not yet, you will, because it's going to get more and more difficult as you go. And again, it's just, you know, it's not going to be the fastest run. I mean, we don't have the biggest OP team around her necessarily. We do have really great support, but we don't have a lot of damage dealers aside from her and Kale. It's going to be interesting to see how much she puts out compared to Kale, because Kale does have that poison as well, and those poisons are really stacking up here against the Ice Golem. So let's see. Finally about to get him down here. I probably should have just cut, but, you know, I just wanted to show you guys how many times she lands the Death Majesty, right? And there we go. Let's see. Actually, let me see info here. So the decreased speed is actually landed. Not bad, with 90 accuracy. That's actually great haul accuracy too, so, you know, don't expect, you know, I don't expect everybody to have their great haul maxed either, so just take that into consideration. She's not going to be landing that consistently. So, 2.4 million damage compared to Kale, 1.5 million damage. You know, not that I'm trying to compare an epic to a starting champion, but she puts out some solid damage, guys. So let's go ahead now. I forgot to even check that shield out, my bad. Let's go ahead into the Doom Tower and assemble some teams. I'll come back to you when I have them. Alright guys, so here we are against the Scarab King on hard, and yeah, we have Dark Elhain. Granted, a bad affinity matchup for her. We have Coulthart in Destroy Gear, we have Armiger in non-Destroy Gear, we have a Shield Champion in Valkyrie, we have Stag Knight. So what I'm going to do here is basically just kind of using all our abilities except for Valkyrie's Shield, just to ensure that we have that up by the time that we get to the boss. And then we should be good to go with this team, and I think that again, you know, basically pairing any good, solid shield champion, ideally 2 shield champions. So if you guys are lucky enough to have kind of like a Miscreated Monster or even a Draconis is a good option. You know, there's several good options, obviously. Husk is a good max HP option that you can, not for shield, obviously, but you can put him in Destroy Gear if you're able to farm it if you have a Husk. Always a good option. And if not, Armiger in Destroy Gear is good. So kind of making our way slowly but surely. Let's go on auto here and just see what happens. So we're shielded up. We land the decrease attack and decrease defense. And now again, between Coulthart and Dark Elhain, we're going to decrease that max turn meter you know, in a matter of a few minutes or a minute. You can see the max HP right there is this bar over the life. That's the max HP bar. So the lower that gets, the better you're looking. And you can see how valuable, again, this max HP on a the decreased max HP on the damage versus max HP champion is in that Cold Heart. But still, Dark Elhain is going to help you kind of chip away every single time. You can see it right there again. Every single time she gets her A1 off, it's going to further do damage and help you guys out, even though it's an anti-affinity matchup here. So it's definitely a champion worth considering, and we'll see how the damage kind of compares. Obviously, Cold Heart's going to absolutely destroy on this one, and she does, but still, you know, Cold Heart compared to Dark Elhain, still, you know, Cold Heart we leaned on heavily there, but still Dark Elhain is definitely a great option for you guys there. Now let's go ahead and get a team together for the spider and see what we can do there. Alright guys, so here we go against the spider. A little bit more of a pay-to-win team because we do have Lydia on this team, but again, this is level floor 40 here of hard in the first go-round, so doing the best I can here. I'm sure we could do this slower with other teams as well. We're just going to go full auto on this one and kind of see what happens. Again, this one, she'll help out any team, whether you're normal difficulty, hard difficulty. She'll help out any team because, again, she's just going to automatically go every single time an ally is frozen, and she's going to get rid of that freeze herself, and she's going to replace it with a great buff. So it's going to be fantastic. So let's go ahead and see if we can, okay, yeah. Let's get some hard hits on there. Let's land a decreased defense, too. How about that? So there comes the freeze. Boom, immediate Death's Majesty. Not bad, right? And if we could ever land a decreased defense, it'd be even better. Before we die, please, Lydia. Before we die. This is the problem with going on auto here, or off auto. All right, and again, a lot of Death Majesties. Finally, the decreased defense and the weaken go up. This battle would have been over already. But I just love it. I love the automatic Death's Majesty proc against freeze. It's just so beneficial. And again, you know, there it goes again. And the freeze should be coming, I believe. Let's see. I forget if the freeze was, okay, on the A3. Okay, here it comes. Boom. Oh, no one got frozen on? That's just what the attack animation looks like. My bad, my bad. But you already saw it, guys. You get the point, right? Anytime anybody is, any single time, excuse me, anybody is frozen, she's automatically going to attack with a hard-hitting attack. And again, she can hold her own here with, against, you know, max HP champions, 1.6 mil against 1.9 and 2.9 and 3.8. So at the end of the day, I think she's a champion worth considering. I apologize. I'm sure some of you guys are going to give me crap for using a Lydia team here. But again, you know, that was to block revive. That way we wouldn't be here for 20 minutes against the Frost Spider. But conceptually, I hope you guys can kind of get the, I don't know, the strategic value of having her on these three, against these three bosses, excuse me, in these three dungeons, or whatever you want to call Doom Tower. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Appreciate each and every one of you guys. Again, the growth here on the channel has been really incredible, and it means a lot. I'm glad you guys are enjoying the Doom Tower as much as I am, as difficult as it may be, and even with the silver problem that we mentioned in yesterday's video. But nonetheless, I appreciate each and every one of you. Enjoy the game. Have a good weekend or week, depending on when you're watching this video. Thank you, and as always, take care, guys.